if you want to gain more muscle with less effort, this video is for you. So make sure you watch the video until the end. A lot of us at the gym do know and do practice it regularly about concentric and eccentric motions. Concentric motion is when you are pushing the weight. So for bench press, concentric motion is when you are pushing the weight up, the bar up. And eccentric motion is when you're releasing the bar down. So you're stretching those muscles. These are eccentric. When you're contracting the muscle, that's concentric. A lot of us know that you need to take your time to lower the bar and just push through the bar on the way up. It's all good and it's all true. That's one of the basics that everybody needs to learn. But what people do not use in their workout program is isometric movements. Now, what is isometric movement? Isometric movement is when you're using the force but the angles of the joints do not change. For example, if I'm pushing a wall like this, okay, I can push as hard as I can, but I won't be able to move the wall, right? Unless I'm Hulk or something. So that's a concentric movement when you applying the force, but you are not seeing any change in the angle of the joints. That is a concentric, again, isometric movement. Now, how can we apply isometric movement in our regular? Let me go back. Actually, why do we need to apply isometric movements? Well, if we can look up the graph here, I can show you that first there's concentric movement. More powerful than that is isometric movement, and then we have eccentric movement producing the maximal force, right? Now we use contraction and extension, or contraction and eccentric motions, but we completely avoid isometric positions or force. Now, if you haven't been applying that for years and if you suddenly apply it, the middle factor right there is going to play a big role in your muscle gains. So how can you apply it without extra time, right? It's very simple. So, and also this is something that people tell, but they don't actually realize what they're doing. So when you go over there, up, say I'm bench pressing again, so when I push the weight up, they'll tell you to pause for a second and then come down. That is trying to apply isometric movement, but a lot of you do not know what they're doing. So if you just push your bar like this up, for example, and if you just hold it without doing anything, that's not going to do anything, then give you rest, right? And when you lower it down again, it's the eccentric motion and you repeat it. But that's not what we are trying to do over here. So when you, for example, again the bench press, when you're pushing the weight up, if you like, instead of just holding it right there, if you squeeze the muscles as hard as possible for like a second or two, then you can feel that your chest is getting actually harder. Actually, you guys can try with me right there. Just push your hands forward, and without even changing the angles or anything, you can kind of like, when you push it, you kind of like feel your chest a little bit tight. It's getting kind of like contracted. Now just sit there and just contract it. Your angles of your joints doesn't change, but your muscles get a lot more tighter because it's producing a lot more force. It's kind of considering all three factors of the curve. So you can do that in any kind of movement. I'm telling you for a bench press, but you can do it even on the fly. So say you are doing your lateral raise, so you are abducting your arm, which is this way. So we just do like this, right? Go pause for a second over here and then come down, right? Instead of just pausing for a second, what I want you to do is just squeeze those muscles as hard as possible for a second and come down. The squeeze for a second or two makes a lot of difference on your muscle. So you can do the same with the lat pull down again when you are pulling yourself or a pull up. So when you're pulling yourself, and instead of just holding it for a second, just squeeze those lats as hard as possible, squeeze that back, and then release up. Those simple adjustment is going to give you great results. If you do not trust me, just try it for a couple of days. You will feel a lot more sore, and you will feel that you have worked your muscle harder than you previously did last week or whatever, even though you are using the same weight and everything still remains the same. Okay, so it's because you are using a lot of forces, you are activating a lot of muscle fibers, you are tearing down a lot of muscle fibers, ultimately resulting in the hypertrophy or muscle growth. hopefully this tip helps you guys. And you know, if it does, make sure you click the like button and make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't yet. And I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.